Here's to the lucky ones, the survivors, the rescues. They're not Chihuahuas nor Shih Tzus. They're not beagles nor bulldogs. But they need just as much love and care and a good home. Some may have unknown histories, and most have troubled pasts. But what matters now is their future. So if you have the courage and the patience, the heart and the home, there is a rescue who needs you. Because when you adopt a rescue, you help change a life. And don't be surprised if that life turns out to be yours.
Hello, Rachel.
Hi, so good evening, everyone. Welcome
evening.
to day 4 of Passion Project celebration of International Homeless Animals Day. So, co-presented by Krispy Kreme and Jumbo Juice. So, a huge thank you for them for supporting our advocacy and also choosing to sponsor our event. So, they actually even added some prizes in our raffle. So if you haven't joined yet, guys, just go to our FB page and the link is pinned there. There are so many prizes available there, and exclusively Jamba Juice and Krispy Kreme has offered a lot more for us.
Yay.
Yes. So to all our viewers tonight, don't forget also to share this live webinar. So just like our previous webinars, we will be picking 5 lucky winners of 100 pesos Gcash. So it's just a small token from us kasi of course we um, know the importance of power ng sharing in social media. So of course we want to celebrate that as well. So just a small token from us talaga siya. So thank you also for joining us today.
Yeah, and don't forget to include the hashtag. Hashtag
Yes.
IHAD 2021. So keep on commenting lang. And then
Yes.
hashtag.
Yes. Actually, even if parang you can also have more catchy caption so that parang more chances then that we will pick your entry, of course. So I hope everyone is doing okay, and we are very excited for our topic tonight.
Wait, Rachel has gone. Kasi nawawala the internet. Welcome to the Philippines. But yeah, anyway, last night we had a very interesting webinar. We had our unsung heroes with us last night, and we're so grateful. 3 hours na usapan last night at parang hindi ata matatapos pa kagabi. But thank you so much to everyone who stayed until the very end of the webinar as we talked about the vets' lives and how they actually are, the unsung heroes na oftentimes hindi masyado na-appreciate, especially during mga rescue operations and yung mga napopost nga about the animals. Oftentimes, it's just the rescuers na napapasalamatan, but we wanted to emphasize that, the vets are actually part of the rehabilitation ng mga rescues natin bago natin sila mapa-adopt. So, Rachel is back.
Hi, sorry. Parang konting technical difficulties.
Yeah. Okay
Okay.
lang yan.
So ano yung napag-usapan?
Sa Philippines. Yeah, alam na natin din na nagka-problem tayo sa internet. But anyway, Rachel, I was just telling everyone na, yun nga, last night we had such an interesting webinar and it even took us 3 hours talaga na
Yes.
with the vets.
Yes.
But, yeah, we're gonna have another interesting topic tonight. So, yeah, sige, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Rachel, so I'm a volunteer passion project. So we also have Miss Malu with us. So very interesting talaga yung topic natin for tonight. It's kind of very close to my heart. So Miss Malu, are you also excited? Kasi parang I know na parang si Passion Project nag-start off talaga siya with dogs, pero yung topic talaga natin would be more on cats. So it's very interesting talaga kasi magiging bagong knowledge siya for us.
That's right. Kasi parang, oftentimes, mas palaging pinag-uusapan yung mga dogs. Wala masyadong awareness talaga sa mga cats. Of course, yung mga cat whisperers and all the stray feeders and all the cat lovers will always have cat na mga posts sa feed nila. But in general, actually, like mga groups, animal welfare groups, mostly talaga dogs. Diba? Yung na-feature. So that's why tonight's episode will be very, very helpful. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, Rachel, ang dami kaya mga natatapon ng mga kuting at saka
I
mga
know. From
and so
personal
many
experience.
people, diba? So many people step up to help or, they kukuha sila ng mga kuting, but they don't know what to do with them after. So, I'm very excited talaga sa episode natin tonight. Kasi very helpful to. Mas marami tayong matutulungan ng mga animals once equipped na yung mga viewers natin.
Yeah. And also, parang ano din, of course, yun na, like what we've mentioned naman, sa shelter, kasi we find it hard a bit to find cat adopters as compared to dogs. So, syempre, we're also here to shed light then on why you can also consider cats and, how they're also worthwhile pets. Siguro,
They're beautiful.
Yeah. Personality-wise, I think medyo underrated lang sila, but
Yeah.
they just express their love in a different way. Pero the love is still there.
Yeah, that's right. Meron na nga
Okay.
tayong mga viewers here na nagko-comment na ng mga cat parents. So,
Yes,
for
so-
sure, even if marami dito, for sure, kahit may mga cats sa sila Rachel, I'm sure mas marami pa rin silang matututunan talaga tonight kasi we have such an amazing speaker tonight. Like ako personally, talagang I'm a fan. She's so good.
Yes. So, actually, we can introduce her already. So, yung speaker natin today is none other than Miss Josephine Cher. Yan. So, si Miss Josephine Cher, she runs a personal cat rescue operation and she has spent the last decade rescuing and rehoming lots of kittens in need. So, actually, she comes from from a long family of lineage of cat rescuers. So, parang kasama na rin talaga sa naging passion niya ito. She even has her own little cattery in her home. So let's welcome everyone, Miss Josephine.
Hi, Jo.
Hi, Jo.
Wait, I think you're just on mute now.
The usual
There.
problem. How can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Hi, Jo. Good evening.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
course.
Thank you for making time tonight. I mentioned to Rachel na earlier, I'm such a fan. You're really one of the best people to talk about cats. You're so good, and I'm so excited because for sure everyone's gonna learn so much from you. And I know that because of that, so many cats will be given a chance na kasi mas mahal. People will know how to take care of them already.
I hope so. Yeah, and don't build me up too much. I'm just, doing it for the love and the passion of it, and not really any other reason. I feel like I should disclaimer to everybody on this that I am not a vet. I'm not a veterinarian, so everything that I say tonight is really just from personal experience and like picking up kittens, off the streets, and how I've kind of learned as I've gone along, and it is like a journey in that sense. So yes, please don't take. I might not know all the answers to your questions, but I'm also not a vet, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you have so much to share. You have so much to share and so many beautiful testimonies and success stories already. So, yes, Rachel, take it away.
Okay, so I think we can go on to our first topic. And so, well, our first topic talaga is more on why you should consider cats. So we like what I've mentioned earlier, we want to shed light to our viewers why cats are also worthwhile pets. So we just want to ask, parang what is the difference between cats and dogs in terms of personality? I mean, if for example you're someone who is looking for a pet, how do you kind of determine what's the right one for you?
Yeah, so there is that, saying there are cat people and dog people. And in a way, I think it kind of is true. I would maybe say that I'm both, but my husband would probably say I'm a cat person. But I do have a dog as well. I think that cats and dogs, it's kind of like comparing apples and oranges, that saying, like you have to really take them individually as they are. So dogs very much kind of live to please. They are described as man's best friend, and they show their love by wanting to please you and really wanting to kind of be there with you and experiencing everything with you. Cats are a little bit different. They love you, I think, just as much, but in their own way. Their motivation isn't to please you and do what you say. So it's a little bit of a different kind of love. And like, you can maybe think of it like humans as well. Like, if you have a relationship with someone, they're not there to kind of do everything you say and please you. It's more of like a little bit of like a reciprocal thing. So with cats, I would say that that's like kind of how they love in a way. But I do feel like cats give you, just as much love as a dog, but it's just different, and you have to kind of understand it and recognize it first. So the first thing I would say is, don't expect them to be like a dog. They don't want to go everywhere with you. Usually they really like routine. They want to stay home. They like having their places to sleep and their things that they do in the day and in the night. So like, they're very much independent. And so in that way, it's actually can be really great, because if you're looking for like a companion, but you maybe don't have the ability to commit to a dog so fully, because you have to take them out for walks and they require so much of your attention with the training and everything, a cat in that sense is a little bit easier. But on the flip side of it, you have to manage your expectations. Don't expect them to be very happy if you take them out like to go visit your friends and everyone is touching them and petting them. They're not going to really like that. So I would say that's kind of the main thing. Cats sort of like to have a bit of a quiet place to hide. If visitors come over, they're not going to be coming out to see who's there unless they're like a very social cat. But dogs are like, hello, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So with cats, it's really different. Like, they all have very different and unique personalities. So some can be really social, but for the most part, they kind of like to do their own thing.
Wait, yeah, because they also mentioned that, your husband would really say that you're a cat person, more of a dog person. I think before we proceed with tonight's discussion, maybe we can just give, a little background about you first.
Yeah.
I mean, probably other people here would think that you're actually abroad, but you're actually here in the Philippines. So can you just tell us where you're actually from? How long have you been here in the Philippines, and what really started like your love for cats?
Yeah. Oh, I will tell you this, but I'll try not to get emotional because I love my cats so much. So I'm Canadian, but I'm married to a Filipino. I moved to the Philippines about 10 years ago. I moved here for work, but then I met my husband here like 3 weeks after I moved here. And so I stayed here for love. So This is home now. Yeah. And I pretty much started rescuing cats like almost right when I moved here. And my love for cats really, really did start when I was very young. My mom and my whole family on my mom's side are like obsessed with cats, and they all kind of rescue cats too. So when I was 7, my mom got me a cat as a pet. And actually that cat lived for 19 years. And I had him from the age of 7 to 26. And he came with me, he was there through high school. When I moved away for college, I brought him with me. He was really like my baby. He slept in my arms every single night. He was like the most special cat ever. And then I had to, obviously, 19 years in, he died. And it was really devastating because I loved him so much.
And that's 19 years, Joe.
Yeah, it was my whole life, like 7 to 26, my entire life. I could almost remember that I had this cat, and he was so devoted to me. And that was he died only 2 years or a year before I moved to the Philippines, which was timing wise, it was interesting because a year before I decided to pick up my whole life and move, my beloved cat died.
Oh,
And
so
then
you weren't there. You weren't there when your cat died.
no, I was there.
Oh, you
I
were
was
there.
there. It was 1 year before I moved here to the
Oh,
Philippines.
okay.
So then I was like really devastated about that. And then I moved here a year later, and the company that I worked for, the one of the girl who worked in HR, I became really good friends with her, and we actually lived in the same building. And she was really involved in like Cara and cat charities and cat rescue, and she had a bunch of cats, and I obviously love cats. And then one day I just was walking to work, and I found a little kitten lying in a mud puddle. Like he was covered with burns and car oil, like he was right outside a garage. And I just was like, I didn't even think about it. I swear, I was just like, oh my God, this thing is gonna die. I almost stepped on him. He was so tiny. And I just picked him up and was like, oh God, what do I do now? Like I just picked up a kitten and he smells so bad. But he instantly, like, the moment I picked him up, he just like purred and nuzzled up to me and was like, you're my new mom, I love you. And I showed up at my friend's house with this really disgusting, dirty kitten. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I had no idea. I mean, in Canada, stray cats are not an issue. Like, it's not a thing there because there's a lot of rescue organizations, a lot of spay and neuter programs. So we don't have the same thing here in the Philippines, like with the stray.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah. And so then for me, I guess when I moved here, it was kind of like a bit of a calling. And I picked up this cat, and my friend really, really helped me like take care of him and taught me a lot. And I actually named that cat Karma because I felt like it was like my cat that died, and then I moved here, and then he was kind of like Karma, you know? And he was like the best cat ever. And then I just like kept picking up kittens. And it was just, you know, my thing is if it's not going to be able to survive on its own, I'm probably going to pick it up. Like if I see a kitten on the street and it looks like, okay, it doesn't look great, but it looks like it's well fed and it's okay, it's old enough, I'll probably leave it, because at a certain point you have to like put a limit on these things.
Yeah, that's right.
But I really like, so I really have picked up like a lot of really young kittens. I have one now that I rescued 2 weeks ago who had a sibling that died sadly. And they were only like barely a week old when I found them. And it's really those ones that are like the ones that get abandoned and are in need because they can't really survive. But yeah, that was like the long story about how I got into it. Sorry.
That's okay. But yeah, at least we know that, you actually really grew up in,
Yeah.
in an environment and with a family who really loves cats as well. So you've always been a cat lover.
Yeah, actually, a funny story. I don't know. I don't think my mom, it's too early for her because she's in the US, but she wanted to jump on this. So one thing that happened was my cat. So I had that one cat, and then my mom rescued another cat that we found on the street. And that cat ended up having like 11 kittens. And we lived in like a tiny, tiny condo. Okay. Like, you know, like the studio condos,
Yeah.
like my mom, my brother, and I, just the three of us in the condo with 2 cats and 11 kittens.
And 11 kittens.
And she tried to find homes for them. She found good homes for almost all of them except for 3. And then like we were like, well, Mom, what are we going to do now? And she's like, well, we're going to keep them. So like there was no question in her mind of like, oh, we're going to get rid of them or we're going to put them out, or and that I was really young. I was like maybe 8 or 9 when that happened. And it really like instilled a value in me of like, this is life. This is so important. It doesn't matter if it's small, you know, like it's life, and all life is important.
That's
and all life
right.
matters, you know? So
That's
thanks,
right.
Mom.
Shout out to your mom for raising such a kind and compassionate daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rachel's again having some internet problems,
Cool.
but I think Ish is managing the slides anyway. So maybe we can go to the slides already now.
Cool. I think the next kind of thing that we wanted to talk about was cat behavior.
Yeah.
What do cats like and what don't they like, and what behaviors should we expect from a rescue?
Yeah.
So, and if there's questions in the chat, please do shout at me.
Yeah.
And some of them are in Tagalog, and my Tagalog is kind of rusty, so please
We'll
translate.
translate it for you. Guys, again, if you have any questions, I mean, this is just the beginning. So we'll start talking about the behaviors of cats and all of the things that you need to know about the cat. So if you have questions for Joe, then you can just comment it and then we can read it later.
So behaviors on cats. What do cats like? I touched on that a bit earlier. So cats like to have, a place to hide. They like to have their own space. They don't want you like in their space all the time. They'll probably want to kind of go off and do their own thing sometimes. They also really like routine and consistency. So like, if you have a cat, you'll kind of know what I mean. Like at the same time, if you feed them, let's say I feed my cats twice a day. I don't leave food out because they're fat and they need to not eat all day. But I do feed them twice a day, and like their sense of time is so good that they will come over to me, at 6 p.m. being like, "Where's my dinner?" So they really like routine. They also like. They like to have kind of high places to perch and kind of look down on things. So that really is something that might relax them. So my cats, I live in a house with a staircase, and my cats love to sit on the stairs and like hang their heads down over and like walk downstairs. And then sometimes they fall asleep like that, which is really funny because their heads are like hanging over the staircase. So they really do like to kind of have those high places. They like, I think for cats, it's like, let them come to you kind of thing. And they also, I think I said earlier, like they don't want to be taken all over the place. Like you don't need to walk your cat.
Yeah.
You can leave your cat indoors and they'll figure it out. They like to play, there's lots of toys that you could make for them to play. I mean, they're hunters and stuff, but they're not really gonna want to like go on that walk with you and meet your friends. There's a question on the outline. There's how do we spot red flags on their behavior? So the thing is, like with cat rescues, it's really, you really have to be prepared for the unknown, and you really have to kind of like surrender yourself and accept whatever personality walks into your door. Like with dogs, it's like you can train them and they love you and etc. But cats are there's some cats that are really kind of domestic that will really be affectionate and loving. And then there's other cats that are just kind of a bit more wild and feral that will just maybe not enjoy as much affection. And I have a cat like that here at home. I've had her for 10 years. She was the second cat I ever rescued after Karma.
And she's still the same.
She's still the same. But
after 10 years, she's still the same.
Yeah, and we call her like the grumpy old lady because she but she shows her love in certain ways. Like when I walk the dog, she follows us. Little things like that you pick up on, and you're like, okay, this is your personality. I accept you for who you are. I force my expectations on who I want you to be. But it can be disappointing for pet owners who, especially if they're not experienced with animals and cats in particular versus dogs, because they might expect like something they can really cuddle up to. And, I'm telling you all right now, if you pick up your cat and you start trying to cuddle up to them and they're not in the mood for it, they may be scratching your face and giving you like a good bite or scratch. And that's what you do, So you have to kind of like be accepting of that personality, I guess. And then I guess going on to the biting and the scratching, the cats do scratch and bite. Like it's kind of just comes, I think, sometimes with the territory of having a cat. But again, once you get to know them, I feel like the relationship builds and you kind of, it's like, how they like to be pet. Like I have one cat that likes to be stroked on the back of his neck, and the other one loves like a really hard scratch on his back, and the other one would out of me if I did that. So like they're all just very different, and you just have to kind of learn about them and be really patient in that regard. So yeah.
But have you had like grumpy rescues who actually just came out of their shell because you were nice to them, or you just let them come out of their shells naturally?
Yeah, I mean, my one, like I have one cat who, when I rescued her, she was so feral. Like she was just like, "Who are you? Get away from me!" She was hissing and spitting and like terrible.
Mhm.
And she hid under my couch for an entire month, and I was like, "Okay, we'll just let that happen." I'll just feed you.
Yeah.
I'll just be calm. I'll do my thing, and I'll just let you come out when you want to come
Mhm.
out. And it took a month. And so it was very much like, it's not my timeline, it's your timeline,
Mhm.
do what
Mhm.
you need to do. And she really like has turned into an affectionate, kind cat, but she's
How
only,
long? How long did it take?
I'd say like a couple months. Like after a month, she came out of the couch. And then from there, it was like really pretty good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and but she only trusts like me and my husband, and she, if somebody comes over, she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and she goes and runs and hides. And so everybody thinks she's like this awful cat, but actually she's really sweet, and just,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing, is like, then you feel special because you're like, oh well,
Yeah.
she only loves me. So I put in
That's
the work
right.
to gain her
That's
trust.
right. Yeah. Wait, we have a question here. Well, since we're talking about grumpy cats and feral cats, one asked here, Robina, Jadelyn De Duque asked, how do you discipline cats? Like, is there such thing as disciplining cats?
Very funny. No, um, just kidding. So, I mean, like when you say discipline, I think you have to kind of I just think you have to think about what you mean by discipline. So, the only thing that I do, honestly, to discipline my cats is I have a spray bottle with water. And because I don't want them going up on the counter or on the table, like eating food and stuff. So I actually make a noise and I
Mm-hmm.
spray them with water at the same time. So they associate, I just go like, so they associate that noise with the water. So now,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm currently training my newest rescue, who's very
Rescue.
marulette, but my other cats now, I just make the noise and they'll get off the table right away. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, someone wrote they don't like noises. Yeah, exactly. So if you make a noise and then they associate it with the water, it's really helpful. So like in terms of discipline, like, what do you mean? Because if a cat, for example, does something bad and you quote discipline them, they're not going to have any association to what they did versus what you're doing. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
like if you spank them or do something like that, they're just going to think you're being really mean.
Yeah.
So you really have to like you just have to manage your expectations, what you want to discipline them, really. And that's really just, honestly, I use the spray bottle because I just don't want them going certain places. Other than that, it's like, you're a cat, you're going to do what you want. This goes
Mm-hmm.
back to my point about dogs kind of live to please and cats don't. So
Yeah.
I have trained my cats, for example, not to go on the counter. But if I leave and like, leave some food out there on the counter and I go out, they're going to jump on the counter and take the food, because the only reason they're not going on the counter is because I'm going to spray them with water, not because they are going to like want to please me. If you did
Yeah.
that with a dog, I'm sure you've seen like some viral videos where someone puts food there, leaves it in front of the dog and leaves the room, and the dog is sitting there like, oh, should I not? Should I not? Because
Yeah.
he doesn't want me to. Yeah. The cat isn't going to have that thought process. They're going to be like, okay, she's gone, no more water, food, I'm on it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We have another question here from Raven. Do you have cats that no matter what you've done, they never really got along with each other?
Yes. There's like, I call it a complex political hierarchy in my house. I have like a whole dynamic going on where there's one cat who's like the buffer with the other cats, and then two of them don't like each other. One of them kind of likes the other. And, you know what? I just let it happen. And like, unless it gets to a point where one of the cats is really bullying the other cat, like to the point of like they're not letting them eat food or something, then I would intervene. And then I try and provide them like, this is going to make me sound really crazy, but like, you know, they each want their own little safe space. So like I have one cat. We generally don't let cats in the bedroom because my husband is a bit allergic and he sneezes and like it's not very hygienic in the bed and everything. But one of our cats loves to sleep on a specific pillow at the end of the bed. And she will go onto that pillow and just sleep there the whole night and not go anywhere else. And so like I've just rescued another kitten and she's very, very, very upset about the whole thing. She walks around the house growling and hissing. So I'm like, okay, you can sleep on that pillow with me in the bed. And it kind of calms her down a little bit. So I kind of try and like do things like that to, you know, to just give her a little bit less stress. There's a lot of really good questions in the chat.
Yeah,
actually.
right?
Yeah. Will my cat ever love me? Your cat does love you. You just have to see
how they actually express it.
Will my cat ever love me? You know, it's really funny because there's like all these comics about cats and how they're so like snobby and, you know, they're very like their own thing. And yeah, there are different cats with different personalities. And like I said, some are more affectionate than others. But I do think love is shown in many different ways. And, you know, you don't know the story of the cat before they came to you. So I think just stay positive because I do think your cat loves you, even if you think they're not showing it. Maybe they're showing it, but you don't realize that that's their way of showing it.
Because if they don't love you, then they have probably left your home already.
They would, yeah. Yeah, they probably would.
But wait, Joe, because you've already mentioned like you've had a grumpy cat and a sweet cat. How many cats do you have right now with you there at home?
At the moment, I have, oh my God, I'm lost. I have 5. I have 5 right now, including the kitten that I just rescued 2 weeks ago. Like I said, there was another kitten, but sadly it passed away like a week after I rescued it. It was really sick to begin with. But the 4 cats that I have now are like permanent cats. So those are what we would call foster fails. Yeah. So,
but how many? Like, do you have a number? How many cats have you rescued already?
Like, I think at least. I think I told Elena before, but I was like, you know, it's been way more than that because I've lost count. But I think at least 50, at least. Because I've forgotten almost like how many kind of come in and how many I've rescued, but I'd say probably about 50. Yeah.
And how many have you rehomed out of the 50?
Well, all of them except for the 4 that I have.
Wow, so all of them survived.
Well, no. So that one of them died. Maybe 5 of them in total died.
Kittens?
5 kittens, yeah. Like it happens because oftentimes like the kittens that I rescued now, I suspect they were abandoned by their mom and not by a human because they were, I found them in a really strange place. And I was like, a human wouldn't put them there, you know? But yeah, so, you know, a lot of the times the kittens that I rescue are sick already, which can be hard. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can go on to the next slide. So we'll basically be talking about the basic essentials. So this is very important for those who are first timers.
Okay, prepare your home for your cat. So the plus is that there's really very few essentials you need for a cat. So the first thing that is very essential is you're going to need a litter box, which you can get on Shopee or Lazada, and which I ordered quite a few times, and litter, cat litter, which you can get pretty much anywhere, but the cheaper ones you can find usually at like SNR or Landers. They have cheap ones, and even Pet Express has some cheap ones. So yeah, so a litter box is really, really important. If it's you know, the really big benefit of cats is that they're kind of like instinctively potty trained. So that's kind of their benefit, is that, you know, you don't really have to like do much. You just show them the litter box and they'll start. I'm having a bit of an issue with my kitten now because she's only 3 weeks old and she's very confused about the litter box and she keeps sleeping in it and then pooping outside of it. And I'm like, no, not do that. But we're working on it. She's still young. But for the most part, they should be pretty much litter trained. The other essential you might want to consider is like just a really soft blanket, or like a warm place for them to kind of sleep. And then something that's like a place that's quiet. So like my friend kind of like, she rescued a cat, and when I helped her rescue it. And then when she took it in, she kept it as a pet. She would actually kind of put it in the bathroom at night sometimes because she has 2 like really loud kids. And actually the cat really liked it because she had a bit of a quiet place and she had like a soft basket to sleep and everything. So she really enjoyed that. Not all cats would. So I often go to Shopwise and they sell like fleecy blankets for like 100 pesos or something, or 150. And there's the Shopwise near my house, so that's why I go there. But you can get them like pretty cheap, you know, and like my cats love them, especially kittens. They love to like nuzzle into them. So a soft blanket is a good idea. And that's it. And like some cat bowls and some food and maybe a toy if you're feeling, you know, extra, but not essential. They'll find something to play with. It depends on the cat. And that's it. Those are like the essentials that you need.
Okay, so again, let's repeat the essentials for those who are just tuning in right now. So if you're taking home a cat, or if you're the first timer, then again you need a litter box, cat litter. And then, well, like Joe said, cats, especially kittens, love fleece blankets and all those soft, soft blankets. And then if you're feeling a little extra, then you can give them toys. Do you have any recommendations for like what toys cats usually like?
So, I would say don't spend money on fancy toys because it's not necessary. The laser toys really make them go crazy. Like, I wouldn't recommend that so much. Honestly, this is the toy that I've been making since my mom, you know, since we had those 11 kittens. I take a piece of paper, I fold it up into like a rectangle. So I just make it like, fold it until it's a thick rectangle, and I just tie a piece of string around it. And I just pull it around the house, and the cats just love it. So, I mean, you really don't need to go buy expensive toys. Another one that works really well that my friend made is like a really thin, like bamboo stick with a string and like a feather on the bottom. And, you know, they just want to jump around, and it helps to keep them active. I think there was a question in the chat about how to keep them, they become lazy after spaying, which is true.
Any activity that you can suggest?
Yeah, I think the toys would be helpful in that situation. And then just having real proper playtime. If you have 2 cats, sometimes they play with each other and they're more active that way, or they just sleep all day. But the toys would help with that.
Yeah, and I also tried with some of our rescues, like all of those videos that you see on YouTube. Like the cat videos or the cockroaches and all these things, it actually gets them active. But good luck with your television if you don't break it.
My one of my cats, she's still quite young. She's 6 months old, and she keeps bringing in live earpiece. Like, because they have a kitty door, so they go in and out. Because I live in a quiet village where like they're safe to go out. And she just comes in with the kitty door with a live earpiece and just puts it on the ground and just goes crazy. And I'm like, stop, please stop doing this. It's traumatizing for me.
How about scratch posts, Joe? Do you think they're
Oh, yeah.
essential?
Oh yeah, that's one I forgot. If like, oh yeah, so I guess it depends on the age of the cat and stuff. It's helpful, but there's no guarantee that the cat is going to use it. So that's just the problem, is like, it's the difference between sort of training a cat and a dog. Like if you get a scratch post, maybe rub it in catnip or something like that, so they really want to rub up against it and try and train them to use it. So I mean, I would say it's helpful if you don't want them to scratch your furniture, especially if you have nice furniture. Yeah. Another thing you can do to deter them from scratching your furniture is get double-sided tape. So if you put like double-sided tape, let's say on the side of your couch where they would scratch, they're immediately going to hate it because it's going to stick to their paws and they'll become very much deterred from it. So what I have is a post like right next to the couch. I have a scratching post, and then I have the couch with the double-sided tape. So immediately they kind of like naturally go to the scratching post. And I find that helpful.
And also, I'm just thinking about all those who don't really have access to cat litter. Do you have any suggestions, like substitutes for the cat litters that you can actually buy online or in malls?
I personally haven't tried much other than cat litter. I think someone mentioned Cartimar is a really cheap place to get it, which is true. So, if you want to find really cheap cat litter, I live way too far from Cartimar to be able to get it there. But I don't know. Honestly, that's something that I've not really tried. But
I heard from some rescuers that they actually buy sawdust.
Yeah,
they actually use that too. So, well, probably it works for some. Yeah, you can just try. I heard about that. Some use that.
Someone also mentioned toys as cardboard boxes, any plastic tunnels and plastic straws. Totally. My cats are obsessed with boxes. Whenever I go shopping and they give you like your groceries in the box, I'm like,
right.
Really good time.
Well, if we have some viewers here who have suggestions, alternative cat litters that work for your cats, and maybe you can share it here in the comment section so that, others will also have alternatives. And then wait, maybe we can just check one more question before we proceed to the next slide. I remember too, because I saw a comment here regarding having to discard cat poop. Do you have any recommendations on the best disinfectants? Because I know, there's really that distinct smell for cat discharges. Like, do you have any recommendations on like what the best disinfectant is, or what you use there at home?
Yeah. So how to discard cat poop? Someone wrote, is it okay to flush it in the toilet? I would say it's probably going to clog your toilet. So buried would probably be better. Or like if you live in a village, put it in a separate bag, kind of like as if you would discard your dog poop and then separate it from the rest of your trash and put it out. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Your question was around, the disinfectant. So I mix baking soda into the litter, which helps to absorb any smell. And this would be a good time to plug spaying and neutering, because your cat, especially the male cats, will spray. They're not neutered, right? So if you get your cat neutered, it won't smell so bad.
And then, another one. I found her a very interesting question, because we're actually talking about essentials and like, first time bringing home a cat. So there's a question here from Hannah Sheila. Her question is, I have big dogs, and she wanted to ask, what's the perfect time to introduce my 5-month kittens to them? What signs should I be aware of to prevent accidental fights or bites?
I'm going through this right now with my 3-week-old kitten, and I have a very large dog, a Belgian canine dog that likes to eat things that are small. So the first, I could go on like a whole thing about this. So the first thing is you want it to be very gradual. So what I would do first is like I'm lucky enough that I have, like, it depends on where you live, right? Like, so I have a sliding door.
You have a
with
garden.
And a little garden. So the dog is outside and the kitten is inside, and they can see each other through the window. Then I would get my dog used to the smell of the kitten. So like being able to smell where the kitten has been. So right now I'm keeping the kitten in my downstairs bathroom, like sometimes, and then the dog can kind of go in there and smell around, and like the litter box is in there. Then it's all about the positive reinforcement. So the dog, like, I got the best treats ever that I know my dog will do anything for. So the dog really needs positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
And the other thing with dogs is that they're very like pack oriented. So my dog has never, he's 10 also, has never gone for any of my cats because they are part of his pack. But he's gone for cats outside. So like he will probably try to kill like a cat outside, but the cats inside that are part of his pack, that he sees as part of his pack, he loves them. I trust him 100%. So the other thing that I do is I teach the dog where he is in the pack. Cats. So the best thing to do is make the dog feel like he's at the bottom of the pack. And
how do you usually do that? Like for those who want to know how to do that.
Things like I feed the cats in front of the dog, and I make the dog watch the cat eat, and then I feed the dog afterwards, because in the pack world, the dog at the bottom of the pack would eat last. So it also teaches the dog discipline. Like you sit, you stay, you lie down. All the cats will have their dinner and he watches them. It sounds cruel, but it's really not if you're thinking like an animal, like a dog. And then when you feed him afterwards, he kind of gets it that like they're part of his pack because they're eating. And also like he gets to eat too. So there's a reward at the end of it, is that he gets to eat. So it's positive in the end. So it's not like a cruel punishment, like watch the cats eat and starve, you know? And then the other thing is the cats can go anywhere in the house, but the dog can't. So especially in the beginning, like I might block off an area where the dog has to stay, but then I let like the kitten walk around all over the place. So he understands that the territory is like the cat's. And then the last thing that is really helpful if you have one, if you're very concerned, I don't know how big your dogs are, but I do have a muzzle for my dog. And again, it's all very positive, very, very positive reinforcement. He actually loves his muzzle because my husband soaked it in hot dog juice when we bought it. And he was like, oh my God. And he gets tons of treats when we put the muzzle on. So actually sometimes he gets the muzzle and brings it to us and is like, put on the muzzle, put on the muzzle. So it's all about positivity. So I put the muzzle on just for a precaution. So at this point right now, I'm in the stage of like, I'm treating the dog a lot when the kitten is around. And then some of the behavior that you want your dog to exhibit is like passive dog behavior. So my dog, you know, I make him lie down and lie on his side, because when they expose their belly, they are like in a submissive position. If he's sniffing the cat, he should be going for the bum of the cat, not the like.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you see that your dog is like sniffing like the backside, that's a very good sign, because that's like a very submissive way.
Just trying to get to know the cat.
Yes. That's how dogs greet each other. So that's another difference between cats and dogs. Cats greet each other nose to nose, and dogs greet each other like sniffing each other's backsides.
Yeah.
And then it has to be very gradual. And like I said, lots of positive reinforcement. Give the dog lots of treats when he does the things that you want him to do. And if it gets too much or they get too obsessive, you know, separate them. And slowly but surely it'll happen.
Yeah, those are all very good reminders. And again, to everyone watching us right now, especially if you have dogs at home, remember that you cannot just, you know, freely bring in a cat, especially if you're not familiar with your dog's behavior. Yeah, because you might end up with a dead cat.
It's super stressful because you really want to help the cat, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You have something to say? I'm just trying to look on the comments.
I think we can, go on. I think we can move on unless there's more questions about that, because I could talk like all day about that.
Okay, here. From Lane Limgo. We have a mixed gender multi-cat household. Only one female is spayed. All three boys are not neutered. One of my male junior cats, who turns 1 year next month, keeps meowing nonstop these days. He's always been vocal, but not to this extent. Is he in heat?
Probably, I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say, why aren't you neutering your cats? Your life would be so much easier.
Right?
Yeah. So he's probably in heat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so many cats are in heat right now, Joe.
I have my 6-month-old, and it's a girl, and I'm like, I need to get her fixed before she goes into heat, because I'm so paranoid about having kittens, because I rescue enough. I don't need more,
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And I think we've talked about this during episode 1, because like we had questions from people asking like what's the earliest that they can have the cats spayed and neutered. So one
Yeah.
of the tips was really like it's I remember Doc Leatrice saying that her basis, I think, was it Doc Leatrice who said something like that, but her basis was the weight
Mm.
of the cat. How about you, Joe? Like, what's your basis? Because it's kind of hard to tell actually the age of the kitten, especially if it's a stray that you picked up. So it's kind of hard to tell if this is a 4-month-old kitten, unless that kitten was born like while you're there. How about you? What's your basis? Like, what's the earliest?
Did she say 1.5 kilos or 2.5 kilos?
Around that.
Yeah. That's what I mean, like I said, everyone, disclaimer, I am not a vet. So this is all my own personal opinion. But yeah, that's what most vets have told me. I mean, the thing is, like, my personal opinion is I feel like 6 months is a minimum age, because firstly, they're not really going to go into heat before 6 months. So the risk is very low. And also I feel like they need some time for their like bodies to develop a little bit before you take away that portion of themselves. So I mean, like, personally, I think I get the weight thing. So if you can do it, just do it. And if the vet says it's okay, then I would just do it, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we can move on to the next topic, which is proper diet.
Right. Proper diet.
I've seen some comments asking already about like what food is okay, if this is okay. So yeah, it's time to talk about what food is safe for cats and like their proper diet.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, like, especially here in the Philippines, because we have such an abundance of fish and, like, cats can eat a lot of scraps, like I think someone said something about mixing rice and squash with something else in one of the comments, which I thought sounded like a really great diet. So when you're talking about getting cat food, there's considerations like budget and affordability. So you have to obviously, like, don't go spending all your money on some high quality cat food that you can't afford. But then there's also like the really bad ones. So if you're buying cat food, if you're going to buy cat food, then you probably, like, again, this is me personally, the food that you would find at like the grocery at Shopwise or SM or whatever, pretty much not great food, and the dry food, not great. So you want to look for like the first ingredient to be some kind of meat or fish or whatever. So usually, like, the ingredients will say chicken meal or salmon meal or whatever, some kind of meat or fish. And then what I call a filler. So the fillers are things like rice, corn, and wheat. So if the first ingredient is meat, that's fine. That's good. And then if the second ingredient is rice, that's great. If the second ingredient is like corn or like wheat gluten, not great for cats. They don't do really well with that. The other thing you have to look out for is the first ingredient will sometimes say something like chicken byproduct. So that's actually not chicken. That's not actually the meat. It's just like the leftovers of the meat. So it's like, it's not really going to have any nutrition for the cat. So those are like the really poor quality foods that say kind of byproducts, or if the first ingredient is a filler, if the first ingredient is corn or wheat or something like that, then you're probably not going to be happy. The cat is probably not going to be very good on that. So that's kind of like overall. I mean, I don't want to start recommending foods because there's such a variety of expensive food and cheap food. But also like my friend in the province who adopted 5 of my kittens for me, you know, he lives in the province and he gets fresh fish every day. So of course he's going to feed his cats fresh fish. That's amazing. That's like the best diet they could have. So I would say do what works for you, like, and do your best.
Yeah. So we also have another question here from Kay. She's asking if you recommend free feeding.
Yeah, I mean, I used to free feed and then I have a really fat, obese cat, so I don't free feed anymore.
So how many times a day? How many times a day do you feed your cats?
Twice a day. So when I wake up in the morning and then around like dinner time. So I mean, like if your cats are fat, don't free feed. If your cats don't have a weight problem, I don't really see a problem with it. Yeah.
Okay. Here we also have another question from Charlene. Most adult cats are lactose intolerant. Tom and Jerry has been lying to us. Yeah. Oh yeah. Good thing I saw this because we totally missed this one actually when we were talking about like the essentials. Because like I mentioned earlier, during this pandemic, so many kittens are actually being thrown in the garbage, and a lot of people want to step up and help them.
Yeah.
So do you have tips? Like how do you actually take care of kittens? Like what do you give them? What are the, you know, as the human milk okay with them? Things like that. For those who are actually, you know, who have zero knowledge on taking care.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point. Whoever said that, I'm sorry, I didn't get the name, but it's not just adult cats that are lactose intolerant, it's kittens as well. So when you rescue a kitten, you have to be very careful not to give them cow's milk, because that can actually give them like severe diarrhea and then they could die. So one of the biggest dangers of for a kitten, a very small kitten, is them getting diarrhea, because they'll become dehydrated very, very quickly and they'll be gone within 24 hours. So the best thing you can do is try and find your local pet store and get some actual formula for the kitten. They make kitten formula. They also sell that on Shopee and Lazada in case you want to have it on hand. I now have some that I just keep in my freezer, so it's extra fresh, and I pretty much assume that I'm going to use it at some point. If you're really desperate, you could maybe look for lactose-free milk. So I have not tried that myself, but I read that it could be helpful. And then there are also like recipes online for formula replacement if you're in a pinch. Like, I don't know the recipes particularly, but like you mix water with sugar and something else, like just to give them a little bit of electrolytes. If you're really desperate, like you can Google, you know, DIY kitten formula, and that would be better than giving them cow's milk or goat's milk. Yeah. Goat's milk is someone just wrote goat's milk. Great suggestion.
Yeah, Lane and Kathy. Okay. Here, can you just tell everyone like what you usually do when you find the kitten? I mean, like first things first, what do you do? Do you provide them a heat lamp? You panic. First thing, you panic. Yeah, can you walk us through like, you know, what you do when you pick up a kitten?
Yeah. I panic and then figure out how I'm going to tell my husband I brought home another kitten, and then think about how the heck the dog is going to handle this. No, so the first thing first is the kitten really abandoned? And I actually had this with the 2 kittens I just rescued, because like I said, I found them in a really strange place. They were like in somebody's driveway near the house, but it was a house that nobody lives in my village. It's empty. And I'm like, we have a park, and I found kittens abandoned in the park. Like, why would someone abandon kittens at a random house? So, I left them for a little bit, because I thought like maybe their mom just left and is going to come back because moms
And
do
that's
that.
that's a very, very good reminder again for everyone. Like, we just don't take kittens right
Yeah.
away. Like, you have to observe because the mom might just be around trying to look
Yeah.
for food. But like, how long should we wait normally when that happens? How long should we wait till the mom goes back, and how long till you say that I have to take the kittens home with me?
Like, I would be surprised if a mom left their kittens the whole entire day and night. That would be shocking. But you really have to make a judgment call on that, and also look at the kittens and see how well they look. So for example, these two kittens were really young, and their eyes they were all dirty and gross, and like their eyes are all gunky, and they looked like they had scabs. So the first thing I would say, don't touch the kittens, because if you don't want to put your scent on them if the mom is around, because then she might smell them and then reject them. The other thing is, kittens are better off with their mom. The mom washes them, litter trains them, feeds them with her milk. Like, the mom will look after the kittens. So whatever you do, if they have a mom, don't separate them.
It's gonna
What?
It's gonna disorient them.
Yeah, and it's going to be like 10 times more work for you because the mom does all the work for you. And I find it so sad when like, these shelters get these kittens, they put them in the shelter, like in front of, abandon them at the shelter. And you're like, if you just leave them with their mom, actually, you really don't have much work to do. You just have to feed the mom, and the mom will clean the kittens. Like, they'll do everything. So best thing. But so if they really are abandoned, I would generally like pick them up, find a blanket for them, like from Shopwise or whatever, like put them in a soft blanket. I check for their dehydration by pinching the back of their neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can look up YouTube videos like the pinch test for kittens. And that gives you a really good idea of how severe the situation is. So if
they're dehydrated, and most probably, like, the mom's really not around and they haven't had milk for a while.
Yeah. And so if you pinch the back of their neck and the skin kind of stays there and doesn't go back, that is a really good thing.
Dehydrated.
Yeah. So that would be like, so then I would be like, okay, bottle, let's get some liquids into them first and get them hydrated. And then, like I said, panic a little bit. Find a quiet place for them. So I usually allocate my bathroom because I can clean it easily, because if they're really young, they might not be litter trained. Those pee pads for puppies, when you're potty training puppies, and they sell like those thin pads, like you can afford that, like it's helpful because it helps to keep things clean. And then I would say bring them to the vet as soon as you can, because they probably need to be dewormed. And then the vet will give you like a really good indication of their state. Like, she'll be able to check for parasites, and kind of give you like a good idea of how critical they are. And that kind of helps you determine your next steps. Is that,
how about for eye infections? Like, especially most abandoned kittens, or those kittens that are thrown in the garbage. When you pick them up, they really have bad eye infection. What do you do to clean the eyes? What do you use?
It depends. So again, I think the vet would be able to advise best, because some, like I have one cat, actually, her name is Pirate, because when I found her eye infection was so bad, it was like eating her eyeball. And in that case, we had to give her actual antibiotic eye drops. But most antibiotic drops are only for kittens like 2 months and older. And she was way younger than that, but it was like a matter of like, she's going to die from this, or we give the medication. So it was really the vet that advised that. But then if sometimes they might just get gunk in their eye, like it's actually quite common, and you just clean it with a cotton ball, and a little bit of water, is all you need to do.
Okay, and then we also want to ask, like, when's the best time to actually have them rehomed? Especially if you're just fostering them, and if you're just there because you rescue them. Like, when's the best time to rehome them?
So this is a really tough call. So because a kitten should be with their mom for 12 weeks, like 3 months. And that's really the best time. I know some people also like to separate them from their mother at 8 weeks. Now, you have to be realistic about what you can do and what your resources are. You also have to think about the person that you're rehoming them to, and if they are like a capable, experienced, committed person versus a new pet owner. So, for example, my friend who has never had a cat in her life found an abandoned kitten and she was just like completely overwhelmed by the whole thing. But she was willing to keep it. So I said, you know what, I will take the kitten for you. I will foster it until it gets to a point where you can kind of like
have to feed.
Eats on its own, litter trains on its own, like it's washing herself and she's proper cat. And then she took the kitten back. But it required like a lot of coaching from me for her to like, so I think she took the kitten quite young. Because there was also other circumstances that I couldn't keep it because it was like personal stuff. So it was like 6 weeks, which is really young. But I was coaching her, I was helping her, etc. I like so an orphaned kitten is very different than like rehoming a kitten like with its mom. And the other thing too is like I wouldn't want to give it to somebody that's not willing to spay and neuter. And then I like if I'm going to give away a kitten that's really young and I'm sure that the person can handle it, I'll still offer to cover the cost of like the vaccines and stuff because, they need to get vaccinated. So like they get vaccinated at like the first vaccine is 8 weeks, about 2 months old. So that's, I try to keep them until at least they get their first vaccine and then they're, and then at least they're vaccinated, they're acting like cats and then I can give them away. But it's really dependent. Like, you do your best. Sometimes you have to give them away younger and other times you can kind of hold on to them for a little longer,
And again, for first timers, Joe, how often do you actually feed the kittens? Like after how many hours do you bottle?
There's actually really like if you Google like kitten feeding chart, there's like a really helpful chart that breaks it down week to week. So I think like the first week, if they're 1 week old, like if they're at their first 1 week old kitten, it's like every 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, which is a lot of work, especially if you have like 4 or 5 of them. And then as time goes by, you can start spacing it out. So like this kitten now, I think I feed her about every 5 or 6 hours, and she's now 3-4 weeks old. So yeah.
Well, I actually have a question also about that. So how can you feed them correctly also? Is there a proper way of feeding them?
If they're just get the food into them. So I mean, it depends on if they're really young and have to be bottle fed. So usually you can start introducing solid wet food around 4 weeks old. And that's when they get teeth. Like before that, they don't really have any teeth. So if you're talking about kittens being bottle fed, it's interesting because like the strength of how much a kitten sucks on the bottle usually sometimes will it be an indicator to me of whether they're going to survive. So like the 2 kittens that I just rescued, the one that died, I mean, the day that I rescued them, this one that I still have, she like sucked that bottle down. Like she was just like, oh my gosh, get me food now. And then the other one that didn't survive, sadly, her suckle was like really weak and I actually had to force feed her. So I force fed her through like a small syringe just on the side of her mouth. I was forcing formula into her mouth. And then after about 2 days of force feeding, she started getting the hang of the bottle and started suckling. But you really just have to like, there isn't really like a proper way per se. You just have, it's like kind of depends on the suckle of the kitten. Just make sure that the nipple of the bottle is big enough. Sometimes they might try and get milk and they won't be able to get some. So you just have to kind of hope that they know what to do kind of thing. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, we have a question here from Mikey. She's asking, like, how would you know how old the kitten is?
Yes, the vet will tell you. No, so yeah, you like a guesstimate. If they're really young, so kittens are born with like their ears folded down. And then at around a week old, their ears will kind of perk up and their eyes will start to open around 7 to 10 days. So if their eyes are open and their ears are straight up, you can be sure that they're older than maybe like 2 weeks. Yeah. And I didn't know, there's like a lot of things I could say, like you could look at their teeth as well and how much their teeth have grown in to give you like an indication of how many weeks they are. Again, I would just recommend like Google it, and there would be like a chart of like how to tell a kitten's age. And if you're going to the vet will be able to guesstimate for you.
Yeah.
Like, just ask them like, how old do you think he is, and then just go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then maybe Rachel, we can go on to the next topic. I was a bit too excited. Actually, the next topic is about kitten care.
Yeah, so actually we already started with kitten care already.
Yeah, but maybe you have
Covered
some questions there and some topics that we haven't covered.
Okay,
So, okay, yeah, cats versus kittens. How are their needs different?
Yeah, so kittens are sad because they need their mommy and they need love and they need affection. So it's tough because with kittens, you really want to give them a lot of affection early on, so they do become like a domesticated, affectionate cat, and you don't want to like deprive them of that.
Yeah.
I had a group of 5 kittens that I rescued like 6 months ago, and it was really helpful in a way because they had each other. So they would all kind of like sleep together in a big pile and like nuzzle up to each other. And these 2 kittens that I have now that I only have 1 left, I feel even like, I just feel really, my heart hurts for it because like I can't cuddle it all day. You know, I work, like I work from home and I'm working and everything. So I'm trying to keep it separate from the dog. So it's in the bathroom and then I take it out, trying to like balance it. But as much affection as you can give a kitten early on is a really good thing. And then one of my other cats has kind of adopted her as like, she'll wash her for me and stuff. So that's really helpful. So I think that is really important with kittens. With cats, you know, their personalities kind of are already established. And sometimes it's more about, with kittens, it's more about like being a mother or, you know, like that, like an affectionate kind of like figure to help them develop that socialization. But with cats, I think it's more about like building trust with them, especially if they've been abused or had a really bad past. Like, I think it's more about patience and trust and kind of, like I said earlier, acceptance. So it's not necessarily like you have to give this cat all this affection. It's like more, okay, let it do its thing. Let it come to you, kind of proceed with a bit more like caution and patience and calmness, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Oh no, it's more on since you've already mentioned that when you have for adult
cat.
This is my obese cat.
Yeah, we can see.
Sorry.
You've already mentioned that cats like to have their own space, so it's kind of their enclosure. So what happens when it comes to kittens naman? Do they have a certain ideal setup or enclosure also?
Yeah, so I have a basket that I put my kittens in, and I put a blanket in the basket, and they seem to really like that. And again, I think a quiet place, but lots of affection is also important. So sometimes I'll put the kitten on my lap while I'm working, and it'll just fall asleep. And even just to feel like the warmth of a human, or like just the warmth of like another body, is really helpful. And also like, they like to hear like the sound of a heartbeat, or some people have recommended like a clock to like one of those old fashioned like clock or a watch to make the sound of like a ticking noise that helps keep them calm. Oh, the other thing, especially if they're a really young kitten, is a hot water bottle is really great. So I always put in a hot water bottle. I wrap it in a towel or something so that it's nice and warm, and they just love it. And then they fall asleep, if you can't kind of hold them all the time. So that's really helpful for a kitten. So a basket with a hot water bottle and a fleecy blanket is a great little space.
How about I think I've heard sometimes that other people put light bulbs in the enclosure so that the box is also warm. Is that ideal also? Or is a warm bottle better?
I don't know. I feel like a light bulb would be unsafe or something. Like, what if they pee on it? Or I don't know. Like, I mean, I would.
There's a light bulb that's always directly towards
Oh, like
them.
an incubation type
Yes,
thing.
yes.
I
Yeah.
think that would work fine as well. Yeah, as long as it's warm.
Okay. Well, the next question actually is we've already talked about it, like what we should feed our kittens. So, like you've mentioned already, cats are generally lactose intolerant, and so if ever we have to look for lactose-free milk. But let's say that they're old enough to eat already. How can you say that they can eat, let's say, kibble? Is there a certain time for that?
Yeah.
Age?
So kibble is definitely later. So I said earlier, like 4 weeks, you can start introducing solid food, but you really have to start with wet food, like canned, like wet food. So like I've always kind of haven't really been too prescriptive in that. Like the last kittens that I had, I mean, they tried to eat the kibble and they just couldn't. So they were like, it would take them like 10 minutes to chew on one little kibble because their mouths were so small. But I mean, I was like, okay, I'll let them explore it and chew it. It's good that they're interested. But you really have to give them the wet food first. Usually it starts with hand feeding them the wet food. So they think that like it's kind of like a bottle, and then they're very confused in the beginning because they're suckling on it. Like they're trying to suckle on the wet food, but it's actually they need to learn how to kind of bite. But they get the hang of it eventually. So the kibble probably, don't take my word for this, but I'd say maybe 6 weeks, like minimum. Like that would be the earliest that they would even be able to eat kibble. They need probably wet food for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah. We also, well, there's a comment here also from Sandine Manlapas. Sometimes my cats eat grass. It is good. Is it good for cats? Like, yeah, ano yung okay ng grass?
Yeah, that's totally fine. It's usually like helps them digest. Some like it helps their digestion, and that's completely fine. And then sometimes they might throw it up, and that's also fine. So don't worry about it.
Any grass? Any grass? Or is there a specific kind of grass?
Like not lemongrass. Like lemongrass I think is poisonous, but like just regular grass in the park, like on the street, I think that's fine. I haven't I don't know. I'm not well versed on my grass species. I think it's okay.
But yeah, to answer Sandine's question, yes, that's good for them.
Yeah.
And that's why we see some catteries actually with cat grass in them because they like it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading another comment.
It's okay. Yeah, is there any comment or question that you want to answer?
No, so someone asked, what's the best thing to do in case they become in heat and have not yet been spayed? And I'm just thinking, just you just have to get through it. Keep them inside. Do not let them out. Do not let them like interact with if you have other cats, and just deal with it.
And then have them spayed right after they're over that
stage.
stage.
You can. Yeah.
And then we also have another question here from Hill Alonso. How can we increase the survival rate of very young kittens, a couple of weeks old, whose mama has either abandoned them or lost the litter in trying to hide them, or has died, accidentally ran over? That's so depressing. Accidentally ran over, especially if they are strays.
Yeah, so this is like, it's really sad, and like I said, I just lost a kitten a week ago, and I was so sad about it, and I was like, I only had the kitten for a week, and then it passed away, and I felt like, well, at least I gave it a really warm, soft, and safe space, you know, and it even purred a little bit, like when I had it, and, you know, I brought it some comfort. But I often feel like with really young kittens, it's kind of a test of surrender in your own self, because with kittens, it's like the only thing you can really do for really young kittens is keep them hydrated, bottle feed them as much as you can, and keep them warm and hope for the best. Like if you're keeping them warm and hydrated, that's really all you can do. Like you can't put a young kitten on an IV, for example. Like if you bring them to the vet, you know, you can definitely bring them to the vet. Like they might be able to take antibiotics, like I did with this one.
Be given the
But it's like there's very little that you can actually do for a kitten that's that young, other than what I just said. So it's very much like, oftentimes if a mom abandons the kitten, it's usually because it's sick anyway, and it probably is going to die, and the mom knows it, you know. So that's one thing you have to tell yourself, like it's the reality of it. And the other thing about orphaned kittens is that they aren't going to thrive as well without their mom. Like they're just not, you know, and they're going to be very confused about the whole thing. And so you just kind of like have to surrender and do your best. And if you know that you did your best, and if you know that they've died peacefully in a safe place, that's really the best you can do.
That's actually very good to hear, because I've also had some experiences of, you know, getting kittens abandoned in front of our house, and then I tried to take care of them, but sometimes they really just don't survive. So that's really sad.
It is really sad. And I always think like, oh, I could have done more. What could I have done?
Really.
Yeah. But I have to also think like, you know, I'm trying to think of it differently now. Like, what lessons have I learned from this? What has this kitten given me? You know, like in this situation, for example, my kitten now that I have has really started thriving since the other one died. And I think it's because the other one had a lot of parasites, and it kept like the healthy one was fighting off all the parasites that the other one had. And then when it died, it was able to kind of fight off the parasites, and now it's really like doing really well. And so I kind of feel like, okay, you know, maybe there was a reason for one to go so the other could live. And I learned. So, you know,
I think it's always like that for us, Joe, for us rescuers. Like we always have to find a way to just kind of understand things and let go, because if we won't, I think like we'll always try to blame ourselves. Like, what did I do wrong? I mean, I could have done more.
But it's sad.
Well, actually, we've kind of missed out a question when it came to the basic essentials of the cats. But since we're here already, there's also a question of the common diseases in cats. So, what do you think should we look out for, and how can we prevent them? I only know of one thing, that cats need to be hydrated all the time. So that's the only thing I know of, actually. But are there any other things that we have to do also for them?
Especially if you have existing cats in the household.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I just had this with the vet with this kitten. So the most important, the one thing that you have to be really conscious of is toxoplasmosis. And that is very common in very young kittens, and it's passed through fecal matter ingested orally. So you have to be very, very like hygienic when you handle the kittens. If you wear gloves when they're young, even better. But always like wash your hands and make sure that you're being careful that they're not scratching you when they're newly born. The other one is feline parvovirus. And I actually learned a bit more about it just recently, because I was worried about that kitten, and the vet tested it for parvovirus, and it didn't have parvovirus. So that was really good, because I was worried about it passing it on to my other cats. But then actually, when I read more about it, it said if your other cats are vaccinated,
they're safe.
They should be fine. So a lot of these diseases that kittens carry, the reason why they die from them is because they're just so tiny and small that their bodies can't fight them off. When actually cats, I was reading these articles that were saying that most cats have been exposed to parvovirus in their lives, and they're just able to fight it off because they're big and they're vaccinated and they're strong. So even the vet, like when I spoke to her 2 weeks ago, because I mentioned one of my other cats had adopted the kittens, she was getting in the basket with them, she was licking them, she was sleeping with them, and this kitten was really sick and had parasites and stuff. And I spoke to the vet about it, and I said, should I be worried? Because my other cat is only 6 months old. She's had her vaccines, but is she going to get sick now too? At the same time, she was really helping me out with the kittens. Like she was washing them for me and keeping them warm and doing like 75% of the work, So I was like, I don't really want to separate them. And the vet was like, well, chances are like the kittens had some parasite. She gave me antibiotics. She gave me antibiotics for the other cat just as a precaution. And then I gave the other cat some spot on as well, just to like in case there were fleas and stuff. So I did take some precautions with the other cat, but she said, like the chances of them passing on a disease, a small kitten passing on a disease to a really big cat and that cat dying from it isn't that high. Yeah. So that was an interesting learning for me. So I let them interact and she's fine. She didn't get sick. So I think those are like the two main ones. In terms of if your cat is sick, what to look out for, signs and symptoms. If your cat stops eating, that's a very sure sign that they're not feeling well, especially if they have a good appetite before, like if they're a picky eater versus, so really lack of appetite. If they're a little bit more lethargic or they're losing weight very rapidly, that is, or their fur starts looking a little like, what's the word? Like mangy almost, like a little dull, I guess you could say.
Starting to lose fur.
No, sorry, not starting to lose fur. I mean like dull fur, like just not a smooth coat. Like their fur is just kind of like messy and dull. Definitely take them to the vet. So for adult cats, a really common thing, especially for cats here in the Philippines, is renal kidney disease. Kidney failure. So my cat Karma, my beloved cat Karma, that's what he died from.
But it's so bad because they usually do not exhibit like signs, and only until it's like the late stage, and you suddenly notice all of these. Right?
So it's interesting because Karma had it, and then I know what to look for, and then my other cat had like an acute episode, and I was able to pick it right away, and I took him to the vet immediately, and we got him on meds, and we were able to squash it. But I feel like if I hadn't, he would have maybe like not done so well. So the signs of the renal failure as well are if their teeth and gums are red, or they have really bad breath, or they're bleeding from the gums, not a good sign. I had one, like the first time with Karma, the first time I encountered renal failure, I actually took him to the vet thinking that his teeth needed to be cleaned because his gums were so red and bleeding. And I took him to a very bad vet who I was very upset with afterwards, because she was like, okay, we can clean his teeth. I'll just check his liver. His liver's fine. He's fine. He just needs a teeth cleaning. And I don't know what compelled me to take him to the other vet that I trust, but I did. And actually he had kidney failure, and like it was a whole year and a half of IV drips and like care. And she would have killed him if she had put him under and cleaned his teeth. She would have literally killed my cat. And I was so mad that she didn't even check. So always check for kidney issues or ask for that test if your cat is exhibiting those symptoms, especially the weight loss, rapid weight loss, dull coat, bad breath, bleeding gums, all signs of kidney failure.
How about panleukopenia? Is it airborne?
What's that?
You haven't experienced panleukopenia, right?
No.
From your rescues? Yeah, because we experienced that at the shelter. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with that also before, because again, I'm really a dog person more than a cat person. but there was a
Oh,
time where
right.
we lost I think 3 kittens because of it, because it's airborne. So I think it's a really good reminder, but it's so hard. It's really so hard as well because you cannot tell. I mean, compared to dogs with distemper, you can actually tell already because of the eye discharges. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to tell,
Yeah.
and you cannot. I mean, like if you're just a regular person who's concerned and you saw like kittens in the garbage, especially like if it's late at night or if it's a bad day or with a bad weather, and if the vets are closed, then it's kind of hard actually because you
Yeah.
cannot bring them to the vet right away all the time. So
And that's
yeah,
viral. It's a viral, right? It's a
yeah,
virus.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a virus
yeah.
and it's airborne, just like
It's
the
tough.
stemper for dogs.
I have not had that issue yet. I have, thank God, not encountered that.
Yeah,
Someone wrote what to do when your cat stops using the litter box. Okay.
yeah,
So I think that's a good question because if your cat, if you keep the litter box clean and your cat is consistently using it and it stops using the litter box, it's probably trying to tell you something. So
mm-hmm.
listen to the signs. And again, this is like that difference with, you shouldn't really be disciplining your cat like if it's not using the litter box because there's probably a reason. The cat is naturally hygienic. The cat will want to use the litter box. So it could mean that like it has a UTI or something, or there's something wrong with it. And so I would definitely keep an eye out for other signs. Keep the litter box as clean as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have more than one cat and it's not using the litter box, try adding in a second litter box to see if it just wants to have two. And if it's still not using it, I would bring it to the vet and see if there's an issue.
Okay. We have an interesting and an SOS question here from Stephanie. My 3-week-old kittens are now motherless. Is it okay for them to be fostered by a pregnant cat? Can pregnant cats produce milk?
I don't know the answer. I wish I could tell you.
You've never had an experience like that as well.
I mean, I've never had a pregnant cat because all my cats are.
Pregnant cats. Yeah, so yeah, I'm actually here with Renee, one of the volunteers too. So she said yes. Well, some pregnant cats would start to stimulate already. Yeah. So I think it's a case to case basis. Like it depends like on what stage of the pregnancy the mother cat is already. So it's a case to case basis. Well, Stephanie, if you can find someone with a mama cat who's lost her kittens too, then that would be a better option. Oh, and Renee here also said that even if the cats are already spayed, they can still actually produce milk. I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think go
like
ahead.
to Stephanie who wrote that, like I would say there's no harm in trying, right? Like just do it and see what happens and do the best.
Yeah. Because like us rescuers, what we usually do every time, and we get a lot of messages, of course, about abandoned kittens. People usually look for a mama cat. And like recently, we've actually posted her on our pages, Mercedes. So she's a mama cat that we rescued while stray feeding in Manila. And then, well, she lost her kittens. And then we took in additional kittens who were abandoned. And yeah, she just offered herself to be the new mom for the kittens. So yeah, that could be an option actually. If you can ask around, if you know people who have mama cats who no longer have well, actually there are also other mama cats that while their kittens are drinking milk from them, they're still kind enough to accommodate kittens that are not theirs.
Yeah. I mean, even my cat, well, she's not fixed yet, but my cat who's 6 months old, like she's really, her mother instincts have kicked in and she's, looking after the kitten for me. So that's really, it also shows you kind of, the love of all the species that they, they have, right?
It's amazing. But I remember, like, I think that was just the first year of Boston. I remember that there was one rescue, and her name's Lucky. She lost her puppies, and then there were kittens that were taken in, and the mama dog fed the kittens. It was
Wow.
just so heartwarming. It was just so heartwarming. I'll try to look for the post about Lucky, and I'll share it here in the comment section later. But it was amazing. It was so
Yeah,
heartwarming. She didn't mind the kittens drinking milk from her, and she's a dog.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
all of these beautiful stories of these animals. So yeah, I hope Stephanie you were able to answer your question. There's no harm in trying. Maybe you
Right.
can just try and offer your pregnant cat to those motherless kittens. No harm in trying. Just try to see how she reacts. Anything else?
Somebody earlier made a comment about giving their cat a bath, and I wanted
Oh
to.
yeah. Yeah. It was
I
earlier. It was
it was
earlier during
earlier.
the discussion. Yeah. Like, do you have tips?
Yeah, so I saw it and I made a mental note about it. So I would say, ask yourself why you're bathing your cat in the first place. So cats are very, very clean, and their saliva actually contains like cleaning enzymes. And their tongues are like sandpaper. So if you've ever had a cat lick you, you'll know what I mean. Their tongues feel like sandpaper. So you really don't need to, my cats are having a fight right now. Sorry. You really don't need to bathe your cats. And most of them hate water, and it's just a very traumatizing, awful experience.
And
That
that's
being
why
said,
you use water. And that's why you use water for your
exactly,
cat.
because most cats hate water. I don't know why they're having the worst fight of their lives right now, my two cats. They're very distracting. Like, maybe
They
because I
wanna
haven't fed them
they
yet.
wanna join you.
They're getting hangry. So don't bathe your cat if you can avoid it at all. If you feel like you need to, like one time my cat fell in a pot of cold oil, like it wasn't hot or anything, but it like jumped into the pot and the oil was
Mhm.
like covered. I mean, do your best. Like it's not going to be a good experience for anybody. It's going to really, they're probably going to not talk to you for like 3 days or something and do like a very snobby cat behavior. I recommend wearing rubber gloves because they're going to bite and scratch the heck out of you, and it's not going to be fun. So I wouldn't recommend it in general.
Yeah. I hope that answers their question. I mean, if you feel like your cat's gonna hurt you if you try to bathe them, then just don't.
Another thing you could do is sometimes, like, if I feel like my cat needs a bit of a wipe down, you can just get like an antibacterial baby wipe,
Wipe.
or and then I just wipe them down like with an actual wipe. So, they're cleanish.
Yeah. Okay. Rachel, do you have any more questions? Or do we move on to the next
I think
slide?
we can move on to our next topic already. Actually,
Guys, if
it's
you have some
about
more questions about
oh,
kittens, then just drop
yeah.
them down here in the comment section. And then we can go back to them later.
Okay. So our next topic actually is about fostering.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've delved into that earlier, but I think we could go into more detail on knowing the right time and age for to adopt cats or kittens, and also what do you look for when you're choosing a home for them.
Yeah.
Are there any red flags that we have to look out for?
Yeah. So ideally, you want to obviously you want to get them to the best home and to somebody that maybe has experience already with cats. Like that would be great. If they don't have any experience with cats, you're gonna want to look for like somebody that's really willing to learn and is very patient. You also, like I said earlier, like cats have their own way of doing things, so you need to make sure that the person who is willing to adopt them isn't going to treat them like a dog, because they may as well just adopt a dog.
Right.
So just having someone that's really willing to learn and be patient and be open is really helpful. There's like practical things to think about when you're adopting out a cat. but again, like I don't, like, for example, I'm just one person and I do my best. Like, it's really hard. I'm just me and my house rescuing cats. I don't even know how I got into this, like how did I get here? So, you do your best when you're looking for a home. And sometimes you can't be that picky. Sometimes you have to just kind of like hope that it'll be okay and offer your support to the person that you're rehoming, and like an ongoing sort of support if they need it. But you want to look for, so I'm just thinking of like the practicalities of the things, like security in the house. You have to think about the fact that cats are very, very wily and mischievous. Like they can open screen doors with their claws. So is it like you want to think about like the safety of it? Sorry, it's my dog. I can't help it. One second. So like you also have to think about kind of security and safety. Are they going to be indoor cats? Are they going to be outdoor cats? If they're going to be outdoors, is the outdoors safe for them? For example, I live in a village that's relatively quiet with trees. So my cats are pretty safe. Like they go outside. They have a little flap kitty door that they go in and out, and they live their good life there. So, but other cats, for example, in condos, it's a whole different story. If your condo, for example, has a balcony, you have to consider how you're going to protect the cat from not jumping up and falling off the balcony. Are the windows secure? Will they jump out of a window and fall? Things like that. You don't want to put your cat in a cage, so they will not enjoy living in a cage. So you have to be like mindful of the fact that your cat is pretty much going to go everywhere in your house unless you close a door. Again, they're not a dog, so they're not going to try and please you. They're going to go where they want. They can also fit through anything, anywhere. Like a cat, the size of them, like maybe half or a quarter of the size of what they look like, they can actually fit through something that small. So you have to consider, like, is there little spaces that they can get out of? What else?
Well, do you have any idea how much you've already rehomed?
Oh, I think I said that
count?
earlier. Like I lost count, but I said at least 50, at least. Oh, but like 5 of them, I've rescued 50. I think 5 of them died. 4 of them I've kept. So do the math.
Are you still checking up on some of them?
Yeah. Some of them, yes. Some of them, no. Some I haven't kept in touch with, and some I haven't rehomed. Like I have one cat here that is now a part of my permanent family. And I actually had a home for her. But it was a young girl, a really young student who lived like in the heart of Manila. And she lived in like a tiny little condo. Okay, fine. But then she was talking to me about like putting her cat in a backpack and bringing it to school with her every day. And then was saying like how she'd never had cats before. And then she goes away and she's going to bring the cat with her. And like the whole thing I was like, it doesn't sound like this cat,
yeah.
And like the whole thing, I was just like, I guess I'm keeping this cat because that's what's happening now. So I refused the home, sadly, for her, but I felt like maybe when she's older, when she's not in school, like when she's not living, like in a way that I just felt like she wasn't ready for a pet. So it's a real judgment call.
How do you find your adopters though?
I post on Facebook in a mad panic. I spam people at work and like I literally like I don't know. I ask everybody I know, and then I post on social media. There's a few groups that have been like some people have referred me to, like cat groups that help with rehoming. So I will probably try those soon. But I have to admit, I get very protective. When you've rescued, here's my dog. When you've rescued a kitten and you've literally nursed it back to health, you're kind of like okay, well, I put in this much work. Somebody
Yeah.
better love this kitten, you know? And no one's gonna love it like I do, kind of thing.
That's actually another question that we want to ask you. Of course, it's a struggle for fosterers to avoid attachment. So, have you ever tried? Have you ever had that type of experience before that you found it
Yes.
really hard to let go of a cat?
And my husband as well. So yes, the answer is yes. When I rescued Karma, my very first cat, like it was really funny. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna keep him. I'm gonna find a home for him, and it was just hilarious because that so wasn't happening. And I have another cat that my husband, the one who I refused the adoption for, my husband got really attached to her, even though he pretends he doesn't like my whole cat rescue operation. And so we kept her. So yeah, and this recent kitten, I have a 6-month-old who I rescued her along with 5 other kittens. They were just found in a box in the park. They were clearly abandoned. And actually, a friend of mine who lives in the province agreed to take them all in. Like he was like, I'll adopt them all. But she particularly was just obsessed with me. And like, I'm working from home and she sleeps on my lap all day, every day. She follows me around the house. She just loves me so much. And I was like, when she was a kitten, she would just sit on my shoulder and I'd walk around the house cleaning and doing my thing. And she'd just like sit on my shoulder. And I was like, there's just no way I'm giving this cat away. I had no intention of keeping her, but her personality just like, there was just a bond, And so I just kept her. I was like, she's better off with me.
Let her go.
I couldn't. I'm a terrible, you want advice on how not to get attached? Like, don't ask me. I love them all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's
Well,
your question, Rachel?
actually, that's really the end of our topic for fostering. So maybe we can look into some questions in the comments also.
Yeah.
What's the most memorable pet you fostered, and how did you cope up with the separation anxiety when he or she got adopted? Well, the most memorable pet I fostered, I didn't give away. I kept, sadly. But the separation anxiety and the sadness is a thing, and it's there, and it's really hard. Like animal rescue, and you guys know this for sure, it's a roller coaster of emotions. It's so like, it's heartbreaking, it's happy, it's sad. Like it really is a roller coaster. And when you give them away, it's also sad, but then also you have to tell yourself, you're making home for another one that maybe will come into your life. And like, that's the best thing that you can do. Like the best thing you can do is give a cat away and find it a good home, because that means there's more space in your home for more rescues. So
Joe, for first time fosterers and those who really did it to find the best homes for the rescues, can you give them a guide of like the usual questions that you ask to the potential adoptees?
oh gosh, I almost feel like you're both probably better to answer that than me, because you're the experts like in
Yeah, but
the
we want to know like what your questions are like
I mean,
to adopters.
yeah, it's not like I have a template, or a list, but I would say, like, first of all, I'd ask them where they live, first and foremost, and if they live in a house or a condo. Then I would ask them if they've have pets or have had pets. So if they have pets, are the pets spayed or neutered? Because I will not give away a kitten that is potentially going to get pregnant or make more kittens. Like, so I feel very strongly about that. And I know that that's maybe a controversial thing here sometimes, but like I did have one potential adopter who said that my cat was really beautiful and they wanted to adopt him because they wanted to breed him with the cat that they currently have. And I was like, nope, we're not breeding cats. Like, I'm not giving a cat away. We put in so much work and time and effort to rescue kittens, and there's so many that need help. Like, it's just been happening. Hard no for me on that. So those would be like my main things. Just
Mhm.
experience with animals, where they live, and spay and neuter.
Okay. Since you mentioned the term controversial, so we have a question here from Kay. Can you please share your thoughts on declawing and why it's bad for cats?
Sorry, can you please on declawing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, actually the claws. So cats have like retractable claws, and actually those claws and like their paws are made up in a way that it's like all connected to their legs and even up to their spine. So actually, when you declaw them, you change like the makeup of their paw and how their paw hits the ground, and it can lead to actually spinal issues with the cat. So it really is, I would say, inhumane, and I would never recommend you declaw. You can trim your cat's nails, no problem. I mean, well, problem because the cat might not let you. But if you start early and get them used to it and give them a lot of treats and do positive reinforcement, you can get a cat used to getting trimmed. But please, please, please don't declaw. It is truly not a humane thing to do.
Rachel, any questions from the comment section that you want
Actually,
to
I'm still looking for interesting ones.
I don't know if you can hear my
from Mary Ann de Polonia. Can I let my cat sleep with me? Like,
Of course you can. Who's stopping you?
I think she can actually acquire asthma if she's always sleeping together with her cats.
Yeah, that's not great. So I mean, like,
Because
definitely
they're
your
so small that you can't really see that they're just going inside your nostrils.
yeah. I mean, my mom has asthma, and like I know she lets the cat sleep with her, but don't follow my mom's rules. I mean, look, your health comes first. So, like
Yeah.
in theory, there's no issue letting your cat sleep with you. But if it's going to impact your health, then don't.
That's right.
And of course, like it's not as hygienic, like having your cat sleep with you. But if they don't go outside, and it's fine.
Yeah. They're just indoor cats.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another interesting question here. Miss Raven is actually one of our volunteers. So her question is, what's your stand on spay abort?
It's so sad.
Right.
Like I think it's like one of those things where if it happens and it's very sad, like obviously we don't want that. So I think when I got my cat fixed, I had to sign like a waiver. They make you sign a waiver that if they find kittens, they'll abort them. And I signed it because I guess I was like, well, first of all, I'm a responsible pet owner, so there's no way my cat is pregnant. But second of all, like it's super sad. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I have very mixed feelings.
Yeah.
It's sad, but also like I feel like sometimes it might be necessary. So
What if you're actually really aware already that the cat's pregnant? Would you go for spay abort?
I feel very mixed about that. Like I really feel mixed about that because it's really sad. The whole thing is just sad. I don't think I would, but again, I wouldn't tell anyone it's necessarily wrong. Like I wouldn't judge somebody if they did it.
Yeah.
Everyone's just doing their best, so do your best. like if you're gonna have kittens and they're gonna get abandoned and thrown in the garbage, then obviously it's better probably to abort them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's just so heartbreaking when you think about it. But yet, really,
sure.
if you have the capacity to take care of the kittens and find homes for them after, then please don't.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
It's so hard because
Yeah.
there's many pregnant cats everywhere.
Yeah.
There's just too many of them, like compared to the number of people who actually have the capacity to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm such an advocate for spay and neuter. Like, I just wish, I feel like it is gaining more traction now. Here in the Philippines, like people are more open to it than
Yeah.
like 10 years ago when I first came here,
Yeah.
which is great, I think, because it's the only way. Yeah.
Here, we have a comment from Miss Jinky. I went to Manila for a month and fell in love with a stray cat that I feed every day. I tried putting it up for adoption, but no one stepped up. So I took it home to Bacolod. It's an adult cat. Adult cat. It's currently on leash because I'm scared it'll run away and get lost. When do you think is the right time to unleash him?
That's such a sweet story, Jinky. That's so sweet.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the cat with you all the way from Manila to Bacolod.
Wow. What a good life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if the cat is inside or outside. It sounds like it's probably outside. If you've had the cat for like, you need to, okay, so minimum 2 weeks is how long you want to keep the cat either indoors if you can, or in enclosure to adjust to its new environment. Oh, the cat is inside. Okay, perfect. So Jinky, yeah, so keep the cat inside for a minimum of 2 weeks. And after that, it should pretty much be okay. If it's like showing signs that it trusts you and it's eating and it's starting to get into like its routine, then it should be fine for it to go out after that. Because the cat will not go far from its food source.
There's
Okay.
another question here also. So, Ma'am Jo, have you ever rescued one with FIV disease? Yes, and if yes,
Yeah.
how is it going on?
So I don't have that much experience with that. I don't think I have, but maybe the kittens that have died maybe had it and I didn't know. So I feel like I'm a little bit I don't know, I have a bit of a blind spot. I don't know if you guys know a bit more about that with your cats in the shelter.
Yeah. Well, these are actually diseases that are very common.
Yeah.
In strays. We've had cases like that, and that's why for us, like that's the reason why we cannot just say yes to all of the rescue requests because
Yeah.
we have all of these viruses that can do more harm to more rescues than actually
Yeah.
save them. So yeah, best thing to do is consult the vet. You're
Yeah.
the best people to explain all these diseases to you and what you're supposed to do. And if you're a person who's devoted to, taking in more cats, fostering them and rescuing them, make sure that all of your cats at home are vaccinated. And, if you take in a new cat, make sure you have an isolation area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have the cat checked first by the vet before you actually mix that cat with your other cats. I
Okay.
just saw another question here.
I think so
Here,
far.
sorry, Miss Percy again. And I'm not sure if you have had any experience with this or you have any knowledge about this. She said there was this incident where my cat ran away at midnight and we couldn't find her. And we opted to place her litter outside since Google suggested that they can find their way home by their litter smell. Is this true?
I would say it's probably true. I mean, like, just in knowing cats and their sense of smell is really strong. So if you put their litter outside and they can definitely smell it, it would. I can see that it would very much help them find their way home. Yeah, I could see how that would be true.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? How about you, Rachel? Do you have some more questions?
Actually, I'm just looking at the comments, and so far we've already answered most of
Yeah,
them.
most of the questions. But
Yeah. So
before we let Miss Josephine go, I just want to ask her this question. Like, if we have viewers here who are really hardcore dog lovers and are not open to, opening their hearts to cats, what's
Right.
your message to them? Like, why do you think should they consider cats as well?
So I would say that cats are easier to take care of. You can even like leave for a couple of days and they'll usually be fine in the house. If you
So
adopt,
dogs have food and litter, and the
yeah,
litter
oh
box.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, as long as you leave food, don't starve them. Whew. Gosh. Yeah, if you leave a whole bunch of food out and a clean litter, usually they can manage a couple of days by themselves. Means you can kind of go away for a weekend and not worry too much. So they're much more low maintenance in that regard, yet they still give you some really nice companionship. So I think it's like if you're, you know, this is the thing though, like if like I just think that cats are so different. Like they show their love differently, yet but they still love you just as much. And this is where I think cats are very misunderstood because there's isn't just one way to show love. Even like humans, we have our different love languages, right? I'm sure you've heard about that. And I feel the same way about cats. Like with dogs, it's very clear because they're so much like devoted and man's best friend and they want to please you, like I said before. And with
Yeah.
cats, it's just different. Like sometimes they just want to be in the room with you and be that companion, you know? So they can offer you that companionship, but maybe not necessarily with all of like the work that goes into having a dog.
Yeah.
And they keep the rodents away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Wait, there was something I wanted to say. Yeah, because I saw a comment from Miss Christine Puasa. She said I was a hardcore dog lover, and the pandemic changed me. It was the same for me. Even like when I started Potion Project, I wasn't really much of a cat lover too, because I really used to be scared of cats. But when I started stray feeding, that was really when I saw the beauty of cats. Like every time I arrive at the location where I would usually feed the cats, after I think just probably 2 months of consistently feeding them, every time I would arrive there, they would want to play with me first before eating food. And it's when I realized cats, people who say that cats are not affectionate and they're not sweet, wait till you meet a sweet cat and they're actually even more sweet than dogs.
Yeah.
And they're more clingy than dogs.
That's true. That is true.
So yeah, for those who are not cat lovers and are hardcore dog lovers, you might want to try stray feeding. Try feeding at least one cat and see just how happy these cats are every time they see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rachel, do you have any other more questions for Josephine? Or do you have any last words? Joe, any messages for everyone watching? Final tip?
All I have like all I have to say is that all life is important. So even if it's a little tiny kitten or whatever on the street, I just think that it should have that importance and that kind of honoring of that life. So for me, that's like the core value. And it's probably like the reason why I can't help picking up kittens because it's like it's not like I tell my husband it's not a choice. It's not like I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know, maybe I'll just let it die. Like I can't do that. It has to, like all life is important. So I guess if you think of things that way and open your heart, but at the same time, just do your best, like no judgments, just everyone is on like a different path in life and has different resources and different means. And I think in animal rescue, especially, it's so important not to be judgmental of others. Like everyone's just trying and just assume good intentions because they probably have the best of intentions, even if they don't really know what they're doing or whatnot. So like those are my last words.
Yeah, that's right. Totally agree. Everyone, especially in the animal welfare world, well, maybe not everyone, but most people really have good intentions. It's just that not everyone's guided. And that's basically why we conducted these webinars. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. For me, who's not really so much of a cat person, well, before,
Yeah.
all the things that you've shared with us are very, very helpful. And I can clearly remember like the first time we invited you, and I've learned so much from you. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with
You're
us.
welcome. Anytime. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you
Let
for
me know if there's
loving,
any
Thank you
questions.
so
loving
much.
our questions.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Wow, Rachel,
Okay.
dami ko na naman ulit natutunan kay Miss Josephine.
Oo
She's just
nga eh. Well, yeah, she really knows her stuff when it comes to cats. Actually, I've been rescuing cats also, but I've never realized that there were still stuff that I didn't know.
yeah,
So that was really
everything was
informative.
really a learning process. And yun nga, Rachel, di ba? Iba-iba naman lahat ng case. And I actually noticed a lot of questions din sa here, comments here asking about mga diseases and all. So Joe is not a vet. If you're not sure about the case, about the health condition or whatever virus that your cat or your rescue has, it's always best to ask a vet. And that's basically why we also had the webinar last night about pets. Kasi iba-iba yung responsibilities natin. So we have a different responsibility as a rescuer and a pet owner. Iba din yung responsibility ng mga vets. So may mga limitations lang po tayo. Yes, it's good that you take in a rescue. It's good that you would adopt your foster one. But may limitation lang po tayo. If your concerns are already about yung mga sakit, about the health condition, then please consult a vet. Yun talaga best way, yung best answer siguro talaga sa mga tanong about sa mga diseases. Go consult the vet. Kasi even if you feel like FLV, FIV, panleukopenia yung sakit ng cat, when you take them to the vet, baka mayroon pang mas ibang malalang sakit or baka may mga worms din or may iba pang mga factors. So, really best to consult the vet. But yes, thank you so much for everyone who participated in tonight's webinar. Thank you for all of your comments and your questions. Do we have any other reminders, Rachel, before we let everyone go?
Yes, so during the IHAD week, we have also vouchers from our sponsors that the watchers can also use. So we have a code for Zalora, so that's for 25% off and 5% cashback. So this is a special promo of Zalora just for us for celebrating IHAD. And
Mm-hmm.
then we also have Bon Appetit PH, so they also have a code for us. So they mainly sell pet treats, so meron din silang code for us na I think this is 20% off. So, pwede nyo siyang i-take advantage until December. Yeah, so thank you very much for these two for providing a special
Yeah.
code for us.
Thank you, Zalora. Thank you, Bon Appetit. And also would like to thank Yellow Cab pala for sending over the really good pizza last night.
Yeah.
Any other
Okay.
reminders, Rachel?
We can also announce the winners from yesterday's
Oh,
webinar. So the
yeah.
people who shared. Okay. Actually, I can't. I can't read. Okay. So the first one is si Miss Thea Connor.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And then we also have Miss Hannah Sheila. Congrats. There. Um
Okay, congratulations, Miss Thea and Hannah. And then we also
yeah.
have Miss LJ Perales,
LJ, Miss
Felicidad.
Kayla,
Mm-hmm.
and Miss Andrea Bilugan. So thank you so much for sharing our webinar. Like we've mentioned talaga, malaking bagay yung pag-share ng posts kasi it gives you a chance to share your knowledge with everyone. And in this case, you're also sharing our advocacy. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
oh, I see here Miss
But,
Gail Franz in the comment section. She's really one of my most favorite people in this advocacy. I don't know if you've seen na yung shinare ko dun sa page natin na dun sa Iligan. together with the police force. Meron silang
Oh,
mobile
yeah.
clinic. So thank you,
Mm-mm.
Miss Gail France, for inspiring your fellow police officers na
Si
i-consider
Miss,
animal welfare. Thank you very much.
I think si Miss Gail Fans yung nag-mention na she will be using her uniform as
Yes,
the Strays Armor.
I
I
know.
really appreciated that comment.
Nakakaiyak.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but we appreciate her even more. Imagine, like, doing her job as a police officer and then stray feeding and, inspiring her fellow police officers to consider animal welfare. May mobile clinic na sila. And her actively joining our webinars every night. Rachel, she's been joining our
Yes,
webinars.
I've been seeing her comments all the time.
Sana all.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Gail France. God bless you guys there and stay safe. Any other reminders, Rachel?
I think we're
Hmm?
uh-huh.
Oh yeah, ito na lang. Ito, excited na talaga tayo. I mean, guys, thank you so much for sticking around since day one of our webinar. So we started with community cats. And then second, we talked about responsible rescuing. Last night we had vets with us. And then tonight we talked about cats, basically understanding our feline friends. And tomorrow, we will have the animal welfare roundtable. So I see a comment here from Miss Francis. Can you have Miss Gail as a guest? Then we'll see. We'll see if she can join us tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. As we welcome some of our friends in the animal welfare world, we will also have special guests. So we'll have our partner in Congress, Pong Ronnie, join us. We'll also have other special guests. We'll have a city vet. So we'll also understand the side of the city vet. We'll also have a mayor guest. And yeah, we're just so excited kung ano yung mangyayari bukas. So kung meron kayo mga tanong, tomorrow is your chance to actually throw them in sa mga special guests natin. The goal of our goal tomorrow is really to, make every sector and make every concerned department understand the reality yung gravity ng problema sa mga homeless animals, sa mga domesticated animals, sa pounds, sa shelters. There is wala kaming intention na mang-atake or na mang-away. The goal for tomorrow is really to hear everyone's side, everyone's sentiments. We want to see where the gap is. We want to be able to, at least break the walls and just inspire and encourage everyone to come together, just like what happened in the previous webinars na sobrang saya lang. Sobrang gaan lang ng feeling, di ba? Especially when we were joined with our other fellow animal welfare advocates nung second day, and then kagabi, di ba, parang ang saya lang ng feeling na ang dami nating kasamang mga vets na same lang naman yung goal natin lahat kahit pa paano. So tomorrow is gonna be exciting. Sabi ni Kathy, excited daw for tomorrow, make all the sectors accountable, which is right naman. But having to make them accountable doesn't mean naman na kailangan natin silang atakihin. So guys, you have to ready your questions tomorrow. For sure, ang dami-dami yung tanong, ang dami yung sentiments. So ready your questions and your concerns tomorrow. Join us for another exciting webinar. And of course, don't forget, please join us on Saturday. Ito na talaga yung finale ng lahat ng pinaghirapan namin. Our benefit concert for a cause. We will also announce tomorrow kung sino yung very, very special guest natin who will be co-hosting with us. And we're very happy that she said yes to our invitation. And what else? Please don't forget to continue to share our webinars. They will all just be here on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So kung wala din po kayo masyadong ginagawa during the day, then you can review all our webinars and please opt to watch them on YouTube. So it can also help us monetize one way or another. Yung mga nagsasabi sa atin dati, Rachel, na sana may YouTube channel tayo. We have na po.
We have,
So
yes.
like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel and watch from there. Kasi, yun nga, that's one way na makasupport po kayo sa amin without shelling out money. Till we are able to reach nga more subscribers and more viewers, then makahelp na mag-monetize tayo. And yes, Jasmine said yes, no attacking, just elevating the level of discourse on animal welfare. So yun, let's all remind everybody how wala pong pag-atake tomorrow. We don't want, the people involved in the different sectors to be discouraged na bigyang pansin yung animal welfare. Let's just inspire everybody and make them understand kung ano nga yung problema sa animal welfare, kung anong kailangan, anong maitutulong nila. Yun po yung goal natin for tomorrow. So, and again, don't forget, please donate and join our raffles and become a supporter. Yes, I totally forgot, Rachel. We already have the supporter button on here on our Facebook page. Ang dami kasi nagme-message dati na they wanna donate regularly, but yun nga, I'm sorry kasi hindi pa namin na-figure out kung paano nga yung monthly na donation. But now, with just one click, pwede na po kayo talaga regularly nagdo-donate. So for just, magkano ulit? 538 ata.
500 pesos per day.
Yeah, 540, magkano a day?
18 pesos a day.
For just 18 pesos a day, fixed yun, 500 something per month, you'd be able to regularly help support the needs of our rescues in our shelter. So please help spread the word. You can already become a Potion Project supporter and regular na po yung donation every month. But if you want to donate more than that, then you're welcome. You can visit our website, potionproject.org.ph, for all the donation channels. So I think that's it for tonight, Rachel.
There's also pala. Parang here it says that people who commented will get a chance to win a 20 kg Canis Prime dog food.
Yeah. Meron na ba? Meron na ba na tayo napili na winners, or are we just gonna post it?
I think we're gonna post it na lang since we've had a lot of interesting questions naman tonight.
Comments. Yeah, there are so many interesting comments and suggestions. Comments and questions tonight. So just give us time to go over the comments, and then we will post by tomorrow the winner of the 20 kilogram dog food from Canis Prime. And yun, exclusive for NCR residents lang po. Sorry na, hindi po talaga kakayanin na ipadala natin 20 kilograms sa dog food kasi Cebu po kayo. So, guys, if you're from Cebu, Iloilo, or Bacolod, the day if you have friends from Manila, just encourage them na lang to keep on commenting below, and then we'll choose the best comment or question, and then we'll post the winner tomorrow. So one lucky winner will win again 20 kilograms dog food of Canis Prime. Thank you, Canis Prime. So
Thank you so much.
Else?
I think we're good already.
Yun.
So again, thank you so much for our viewers today.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you, Miss Josephine, of course. Thank you, Elena, for hooking us up with Miss Josephine. All of the volunteers who prepared this week's webinars. Thank you so much for all your hard work. And I think that's it for tonight. I hope you all have a good night. And we'll be showing tonight also another teaser video for episode 1 of our documentary series, which will be shown on Saturday. So, para lang mas ma-excite sila, here, we'll show you a teaser video. And again, everybody, thank you and good night.
Every being just wants to be loved and show love, especially dogs. If you have the means, the capacity to take care of one, why not?